The morning sun filters through thin curtains, painting stripes of light across the wooden floor of a modest apartment in West Germany. Outside, the streets are alive with laughter and the rhythmic tapping of sneakers on cobblestones. Children chase each other with wooden hoops, sticks tapping the pavement as if drumming out the start of the day. The smell of fresh bread from the local bakery drifts through the cold air of it, mingling with the lingering scent of winter snow on roofs and streets. This is a world without the internet or notifications, measured not in hours but in the swing of a playground gate, the clatter of a bicycle chain, the rustle of autumn leaves under sneakers. At school, the bell clangs sharp and metallic across the courtyard, sending a ripple through the playground. Children in wool coats and scarves gather in clumps, trading stories of yesterday's discoveries or the latest comic book plotline read in Mickey Mouse or Bravo. Teachers' voices cut through the air, firm yet not unkind, calling students to line up, reminding them of lessons and exercises. The smell of chalk dust hangs lightly in classrooms, mingling with polished wooden floors and paper. Windows rattle in winter winds, a reminder that the seasons rule every aspect of life, that summer's warmth and winter's bite are felt in every bone. When summer arrives, the city transforms. Cobblestone streets echo with barefoot footsteps. Bicycles wobble and weave between friends. Fountains in public squares splash children who squeal with delight. Ice cream vendors ring their bells, soft cones melting quickly in the warm sunlight. Simple joys yet monumental in memory, skipping stones along the canal, chasing pigeons from the town square, sharing a single orange slice between four friends. Radios and televisions hum in the background, broadcasting children's shows or pop songs, the same melodies and voices heard across countless homes, weaving a subtle thread of connection between separate lives. Newspapers and magazines, carefully laid out at breakfast tables, carry the small excitements of everyday life. The announcement of a local soccer match, a school play, or the arrival of a traveling circus in town. Winter brings a quieter magic. Snow blankets the streets, muting the usual clatter, softening the sharp angles of buildings. Children bundled in scarves and mittens build snowmen or slide along icy slopes, their laughter bouncing between rows of closely packed houses. The smell of roasted chestnuts from street vendors mingles with smoke curling from chimneys. Indoors, families gather around tables with warm cocoa and freshly baked bread, reading newspapers or magazines. The flickering light of a black and white television casting shadows across faces. The outside cold contrasts sharply with the warmth within, emphasizing the small comforts of home intimacy, of shared meals, the security of familiar routines. Every corner, every alley, every playground has its own story. A swing squeaks in rhythm with a child's laughter. Chalk drawings fade slowly under the winter frost. The smell of freshly mown grass signals summer's end. Each sensation, each sound, each fleeting moment carries weight in memory, not because it is extraordinary, but because it is shared. Childhood in the 1970s Germany is a tapestry woven from small, ordinary threads. The sound of a school bell, the page turn of a comic, the crunch of snow under boots, the warmth of a parent's hand guiding a child across a street. The streets themselves are teachers. Children learn courage, patience, and friendship, not through instructions, but through interaction, racing a friend to the corner, falling and scraping a knee, learning to forgive and help one another. Markets, playgrounds, courtyards, and stairwells are arenas of small victories, whispered secrets, and shared wonder. Summer and winter, day and night, mark the passage of time, not on clocks or calendars, but in games played, stories shared, and laughter echoed down narrow streets. Always somewhere in the background, a radio or television murmurs the same tune that hundreds of thousands of other children hear, linking lives without needing eyes to see or hands to touch. By late afternoon, shadows lengthen. Children return home reluctantly, cheeks red from the cold, pockets heavy with small treasures, a found marble, a scribbled drawing, a pressed leaf. The smells of supper drift through the neighborhood smells that will be familiar for decades. Simmering cabbage, roasted potatoes, a slice of warm bread spread with butter. Families sit together sharing the day's stories, their routines both mundane and sacred. The flickering television, the rustle of newspapers, the glow of lamps all combine into a rhythm that shapes memory, giving order to the quiet chaos of growing up. Evenings bring the stillness of a world readying for rest. Streetlights hum softly above slick cobblestones. The distant laughter of children fades into warm interiors of apartments, the city itself breathing in preparation for another day of small adventures. In this world, nothing is trivial. Every game played, every page read, every snowfall observed becomes a permanent note in the symphony of childhood. And as night deepens, the comforting glow of lamplight and television screens promises continuity, that tomorrow will bring more discoveries, more laughter, more memories waiting to be etched into the heart of every child in the 1970s Germany. Morning light spills over red brick school buildings as children's laughter echoes across cobblestone courtyards, sneakers tapping wet stones from last night's rain, scarves and wool coats swirling in motion. Teachers call names at the doors, their voices blending with the faint toll of church bells and the distant hum of a streetcar passing. Inside classrooms, the air smells of ink and paper, wooden desks polished smooth, textbooks stacked neatly with pencil, cases full of worn pencils, erasers, and small treasures. Windows rattle slightly in the cool morning breeze, patterns of light shifting across lined notebooks where handwriting is practiced carefully, while small sketches capture imagined adventures. Friends whisper jokes about yesterday's soccer match, counting down the minutes until recess when the courtyard and alleys become arenas of freedom and exploration. Outside, the streets themselves are alive, narrow alleys echoing with bicycle wheels, the occasional shouted warning as marbles roll across cobblestones. Girls skip with long ropes, laughter rising like birdsong. Boys chase each other with wooden swords made from broom handles, inventing battles that stretch across entire neighborhoods. Ice cream vendors ring bells, drawing children running across streets, coins clutched tightly in frosty hands, while the smell of fresh pretzels from bakeries drifts through the air, mingling with the warm oven scent. Every window glows faintly with domestic life, families reading newspapers or preparing lunch briefly visible before curtains sway in the wind, masking interiors. Lunch breaks are gatherings under bare winter trees or sunlit benches in summer. Comic books traded, whispered secrets shared, tiny victories celebrated in small groups that will linger in memory decades later. Streets echo with bike bells, the faint squeak of swings, dogs barking at thrown sticks, and children chasing each other through puddles, splashing water high, boots wet and cheeks red. Newspapers displayed in shop windows announce local events or school activities, simple yet exciting, connecting the neighborhood in shared knowledge. When rain falls, the city softens, reflections ripple in puddles, umbrellas open, coats glisten, and the rhythmic patter of water becomes part of daily music. Children wear boots too large or scarves knitted by grandmothers, laughter mixing with calls of vendors selling roasted chestnuts, or small toys from carts that creak with every push. The air smells of damp earth, wet asphalt, distant smoke from chimneys, and freshly baked bread, an olfactory map of childhood streets. Summer brings sunlit adventures, climbing trees, hiding behind fences, rolling down grassy hills, and splashing in fountains that mark the heat of July. The canal glints under golden sunlight, ducks glide lazily, and children toss breadcrumbs or stones, learning patience and observation through play. Evenings see the neighborhood quieting, footsteps slower, windows glowing warmly as families eat supper together, newspapers and magazines on tables, black and white televisions flickering with stories and music, the hum of domestic life filling rooms. Children drift to bed reluctantly, pockets heavy with small marbles, pressed leaves, tiny drawings, laughter still echoing in empty hallways. Snow in winter brings magic. Streets covered in white, softening clatter. Children bundled and building snowmen or sledding down slopes. Voices bouncing between buildings. The smell of roasted chestnuts and wood smoke mingling. Street lamps casting pools of golden light on white blankets. Courtyards become arenas for snowball fights. Windows fog with breath. Small mittens and scarves marking each child's presence in the cold. Indoors, warmth from stoves and in ovens invites games of cards, storytelling, and drawing by lamplight. Radios and televisions broadcast programs simultaneously across homes, creating a shared national rhythm, even as each family experiences the moment privately. Every day, every hour is measured in small joys, skipping stones, shared treats, whispered secrets, the sound of chalk on pavement, the feel of cold snow or summer grass, bicycle bells, and the warmth of hands held in friendship. Childhood in 1970s Germany is a mosaic of senses and experiences stitched together by play, family, and the rhythm of neighborhoods. A life lived fully with body, mind, and heart attuned to the present, where each ordinary act gains extraordinary meaning simply by being shared and remembered. Sunlight floods narrow streets of West German towns in summer, casting long shadows of old lampposts and bicycles parked outside red brick buildings. Children run barefoot on cobblestones, chasing each other with sticks or rolling hoops, their laughter bouncing off walls and echoing into courtyards. The scent of fresh bread and coffee drifts from kitchen windows, mingling with the earthy smell of summer rain that has just passed, leaving puddles reflecting blue skies and leafy trees. Markets buzz softly as vendors arrange fruits, vegetables, and small toys on wooden stalls, children weaving between legs, bargaining for candy or a coin's worth of chocolate. Sidewalk chalk drawings fade slowly under the sun as little hands sketch squares and hopscotch grids, competing for the highest jump or longest balance. Bicycles wobble past, bells tinkling, as friends pedal furiously to catch each other. Wind tugging scarves and hair, the world alive with motion and noise. Afternoon brings the smell of grass and hay from nearby fields, where some children escape the streets to play games of hide and seek, or pretend pirate adventures. Ice cream vendors ring their bells as kids dash to purchase cones melting faster than they can eat, and the sound of a distant radio playing pop songs drifts across streets, linking every neighborhood in a shared, invisible melody. School holidays mean long days outside, climbing trees, rolling down grassy hills, chasing ducks at the canal, skipping stones across water, the faint splash of boots in shallow edges, the joy of freedom measured only by the sun's position in the sky. Winter, however, transforms everything. Snow blankets cobblestones, muffling footsteps, softening the sharp edges of buildings. Children bundled in thick coats, scarves, and mittens slide down icy slopes. Snowball fights erupt spontaneously in courtyards. Laughter carried high and far. The smell of roasted chestnuts mingles with smoke curling from chimneys, mixing with the faint aroma of baked bread or stews simmering indoors. Windows glow warmly, silhouettes of families reading newspapers, preparing meals, or gathered around flickering black and white televisions, the voices of announcers and show hosts echoing softly into the neighborhood. Ice forms along canals, and children daring enough test the surface briefly before laughter pulls them back to safer ground. In all seasons, the city itself is a playground and a teacher. Streets, alleys, parks, courtyards, and stairwells offer lessons in courage, patience, friendship, and imagination. A scraped knee, a lost marble, a small victory in a running race, or a secret shared on a hidden balcony, all become indelible parts of memory. Evenings bring calm, the neighborhood quieting as streetlights hum softly over slick pavements, the last bicycle wheels fading into distance, voices of children diminishing, homes glowing with warmth and lamplight. Families gather for meals discussing the day, newspapers spread across tables, magazines stacked beside them, television providing music, stories, or laughter that threads through rooms, linking every family in parallel routines. Winter nights stretch long, snow glinting under lamplight, children reluctantly called indoors, boots wet, cheeks red, pockets heavy with small treasures, marbles, pressed leaves, scribbled drawings. Fires crackle in stoves, the smell of warm cocoa and baked goods filling rooms, stories shared in whispered tones, laughter subdued but present. Summer evenings bring golden light lingering over rooftops, windows open to let in cooling breezes, children chasing fireflies, the distant bell of the town clock marking hours, the smell of hay or damp grass reminding everyone of nature's rhythm intertwined with urban life. Every alleyway, every playground, every canal and staircase is a repository of memories, a map of childhood adventures, A record of time measured not in clocks, but in games played, jokes shared, secrets whispered, small victories celebrated, and the pure joy of being fully alive in a world at once ordinary and extraordinary. Radios and televisions murmur in the background. The same songs, same voices, heard across countless homes, binding children in a subtle collective experience that they feel but cannot fully articulate. A shared invisible rhythm. Streets, rooftops, courtyards, and classrooms all teach lessons without words. Lessons in imagination, social connection, observation, and resilience. Cobblestones underfoot, the warmth of hands held in friendship, the thrill of a stolen moment, the quiet satisfaction of finishing a drawing, the first taste of an ice cream cone on a hot afternoon, snowball clattering against a fence, the smell of cocoa after a long winter day. All these sensations become permanent, interwoven threads in the tapestry of growing up. And as dusk falls, the glow of lamps and televisions promises tomorrow's adventures. The streets empty slowly, children carried home by parents, voices fading into the soft hush of the night, the city itself breathing, resting, ready to awaken once more for the endless cycles of summer and winter, of play and quiet reflection, of shared laughter and private discovery, forming the unforgettable mosaic of childhood in 1970s Germany. As the sun dips low behind rows of apartment buildings and terraced houses, streets that were alive with laughter and bicycle bells earlier now settle into a quieter rhythm, the echo of children's footsteps fading slowly into the evening air. Windows glow with warm lamplight and the faint flicker of black and white television screens, casting long shadows on walls and furniture, revealing glimpses of families gathered around tables, quietly finishing meals or reading newspapers, the scent of freshly baked bread or cocoa lingering in the rooms. Courtyards and stairwells are empty now except for stray leaves drifting across cobblestones, the faint rustle of a cat moving silently across the bricks, and the distant hum of a tram making its final rounds. Children sit on windowsills in some apartments, wrapped in wool blankets, pressing faces against glass, eyes tracing the dimming shapes of rooftops and chimneys as dusk deepens, their imaginations replaying the day's adventures, the races, the games, the discoveries. Each small victory etched into memory. Streetlights flicker on one by one, casting pools of golden light over wet pavements where bicycle wheels once spun, puddles reflecting distorted images of lampposts and passing clouds, the city itself holding its breath for the night. The sounds of summer cicadas or winter wind brushing against shutters provide a soft background melody as families settle into quiet routines, children washing faces, brushing teeth, small hands fumbling with soap or combs, the tactile rhythm grounding them in the present. In kitchens, parents clear away dishes, the clatter of plates subdued by conversation, laughter now soft and reflective as stories of the day are recounted, minor triumphs celebrated, small frustrations acknowledged and let go. Radios play familiar tunes, the same songs echoing across countless neighborhoods, connecting children and parents in a subtle shared experience, a national soundtrack to ordinary yet magical lives. The smell of roasted chestnuts in winter or freshly mown grass in summer, of bread, of coffee, of coal smoke or damp earth, fills the air inside and out, marking seasons, moments, the passage of time in ways that modern devices cannot replicate. Bedrooms glow with soft lamplight, children changing into pajamas, lining dolls or toy soldiers beside beds, books open to favorite pages ready to be revisited before sleep, the quiet thrill of anticipation for tomorrow's adventures lingering. Evenings stretch long in the 1970s, shadows crawling across cobblestones, rooftops, and alleyways, a slow, unhurried passage of time measured by the fading light, the setting sun, the distant church bells marking hours, the wind rustling leaves, the occasional bark of a dog. Outside, snow glistens under the dim streetlights in winter, footprints marking paths taken, sleds abandoned temporarily at the bottom of hills, snowmen standing proudly in small courtyards, evidence of day-long play now resting in quiet reverence. In summer, the last sun rays illuminate bicycles leaning against fences, skipping ropes coiled on grass, chalk drawings faded but still visible on pavements, the scent of hay or blooming flowers lingering as the neighborhood slowly exhales. Children lie in bed listening to muffled voices from other rooms, the occasional passing tram, or the quiet footsteps of a parent checking the window or door, the feeling of safety and warmth enveloping them, a stark contrast to the cold streets outside. Memories of shared jokes, whispered secrets, playful rivalries, minor scrapes and bruises, spontaneous races, games invented in imagination, all become indelible threads woven into the fabric of growing up, permanent and precious. Televisions flicker off, newspapers folded, lamps dimmed, the city outside quieting, only distant church bells or a late bicycle bell breaking the silence. And children drift into sleep, carrying the day's experiences into dreams, revisiting familiar streets, playgrounds, rooftops, alleys, canals, imagining adventures anew. The ordinary transformed into extraordinary by perception and memory. The smell of cocoa or roasted chestnuts, of wet cobblestones, of paper and ink, lingers invisibly, anchoring recollections of laughter and play, of games and discovery, of streets and windows, of friends and family, a sensory map that time cannot erase. And as night deepens fully, the city sleeps, the neighborhood rests, rooftops cold under the stars, the distant moon casting silver over empty streets. And in countless homes, children dream of running, playing, laughing, imagining, while parents watch quietly, listening to the soft breathing of the next generation, the unspoken promise that tomorrow will bring new adventures, new discoveries, new moments to cherish in the quiet mosaic of 1970s childhood. In this slow rhythm, in this careful attention to ordinary life, the essence of a generation is captured. A world lived fully in streets, homes, playgrounds, classrooms, markets, alleys, courtyards, and skies above. A childhood measured not by calendars or schedules, but by moments, senses, laughter, imagination, and memory, forming the lasting impression of growing up in Germany during the 1970s. A time both simple and infinitely rich. A time forever remembered in the echo of footsteps on cobblestones, in the flicker of lamplight on familiar walls.